Shalom, fam. I hope there's enough light in the area where I'm doing the filming. But I wanted to come to you today to speak to you regarding the eighth day of the booth celebration or Feast of Tabernacles, where the Israelites were given instructions in the Old Testament, in the book of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter in particular, where the feasts and the festivals that are accepted by the Most High and considered sacred to Him. Those instructions were in there. And upon the calculation that we use here at Tents of Judah, today marks the eighth day. Last night would have been the last night to either, sleep in your tents if you are. And there are some people who could not do it. The point of it is, let's get into these laws and do your best and make accommodations moving forward like you would for your wife, your children, anything that's important to you. Treat the Most High's laws as the most important and do the best that you can. If you can't sleep in a tent, you can still lay on the floor to inconvenience yourself of sleeping in that big water bed, the whole nine. The point of it was to try to give privilege and give, basically a reverence of appreciation to the original children of Israel that came out of Israel that were presetting the covenant that the tribes of Israel agreed to in Exodus, the 24th chapter, where it was sealed by Moses as far as the ceremony is concerned. So that's what it relates to. So I wanted to put enough out there for the people who are just coming into this, who may have a question regarding that. Make sure you leave comments and that type of thing. We'll do it that way because I promise you it's very easy to go 2, 3, 4 hours discussing any new subject or questionable angle on a particular subject that you may have. But that's required. It's no problem. I just wanted to let you know that we are dealing with a camera and I can deal with questions being put in place as best as you can, and I'll respond as best as I can, as prompt as I can. So I wanted to put that out so that we can lay some groundwork for a way for people in different situations can move forward. But at the end of the day, it should have been a holy convocation today. Of course, I'm not actually at a full convocation, not ducking the law. I was in a position, so this is what I had to do to show the Most High that I'm aware and I'm doing what I can for what's available to me at this particular point in my situation. So I wanted to let you know that you would have seen Israelites in tents potentially. Some of us have different days that we actually partake of the new moon, but it was supposed to be the 15th day of the 7th month of Elul, Tishri, for that particular celebration. So go Google and you can find you some colorful calendars that will show you the breakdown of the months. However you do it, just get it to where your knowledge begins and you keep moving forward to confirm all the information that you actually are gathering or get. So I wanted to basically bring that up. But before we do that, I would prefer to go ahead and read the Shema at the beginning before we get into breaking down a couple of subjects today that I wanted to speak on. I wanted to give you some scriptures to show proof that God purposely chose the 12 tribes of Israel and how he did it. I will give you some scriptures on that point so you can put those in your box and meditate and add to and get more information as you move forward. But first, I wanted to read the Shema of Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. So I will read it as it is written. So pay attention and understand this is like the oath between the children of Israel and the Most High in terms of how he wants you to approach trying to follow the covenant, if you will, or the laws, statutes, and commandments that he gave us on our half to do to fulfill the covenant. He does the other half of the blessings and give us the things and the protection that we will need as a unique family or unique group of people that was chosen by him through the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and then Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. Thus spawns the seed of the children of Israel that came from Jacob and his seed planting, if you will. So let's do this. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to start on the Shema of Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. And I will read the entire chapter to make sure that the setup is there and the inclusion starting at verse 4 of the actual Shema. So verse 1 of Deuteronomy 6. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which the Lord your God commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whither you go to possess it. Verse 2. That thou mightest fear the Lord thy God, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it might be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as the Lord God of thy fathers hath promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey. The Shema begins at verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in the house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. Verse 8. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes in your thoughts. And thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates. And it shall be, when the Lord thy God shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities, which thou buildest not, and houses full of all good things, which thou fillest not, and wells digged, which thou diggest not, vineyards and olive trees, which thou plantest not, when thou shalt have eaten and be full. Then beware lest thou forget the Lord, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage, that thou shalt fear the Lord thy God and serve him, and shalt swear by his name. Ye shall not go after other gods of the people which are round about you. For the Lord thy God is a jealous God among you, lest the anger of the Lord thy God be kindled against thee, and destroy thee from off the face of the earth. Ye shall not tempt the Lord your God, as ye tempted him in Massah. Ye shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God, and his testimonies, and his statutes, which he hath commanded thee. And thou shalt do that which is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may be well with thee, and that thou mayest go and possess the good land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers, to cast out all thine enemies from before thee, as the Lord hath spoken. And when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, what mean the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which the Lord our God hath commanded you. Then thou shalt say unto thy son, we were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt, and the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. And the Lord showed signs and wonders, great and sore, upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and upon his household, all his household. Before your eyes, he let you see his power. And he brought us out from thence, that he might bring us in to give us the land which he sware unto our fathers. And the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God as he hath commanded us. So righteousness means that we have a right to inherit whatever the blessings were that the Most High had given to his seed. So I say that so that you will understand why the covenant is such a big deal. And it's not just a case of any and everybody able to pick that book up and do what they do and expecting what the Most High said he would give only to a specific group of people. That was kind of the oath right before Moses, or right after Moses had sealed the covenant with the actual rituals. You want to read that, go to Exodus, the 24th chapter in particular. But I challenge you to always continue to read and just go back and forth in the Torah as much as possible until your knowledge has been cemented. But that was the sealing point to where after that, there was a covenant that existed where the Most High had a part that he said he would do, and we were required to do a part with the 613 plus laws that we were required to follow regarding what to eat, how to eat. I don't care if you prayed over it. You cannot eat shrimp, crab, lobster, catfish, mullet, pork chop sandwich, pork sausages, pork hot dogs. Just go down the list. Your job is to go into Leviticus. You can start around 10, but just read the entire book of Leviticus to get your groundwork set on the diet, if you will. Things that we are required to eat, that we can eat, and that we should not eat. From that flies in the air, that runs, beasts that are roaming on the ground, and the things that are in the waters around the world where we fish. So that's what it covers as it relates to that. But the Most High said if we do those things, he will make the 12 tribes of Israel a unique nation among all the other nations, and he will make us superior to where all of the nations would be submissive and subordinate to us, and we will be ruling the world. That's what the kingdom of heaven means, a condition where your bloodline or your people basically inherit all the good in exchange for having a sacred soul, which means your behavior is conducive and mirrored or congruent with the actual covenant. The things that he said to not do, you don't do. The things he said to do, you do. And fortunately for us too, as well in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, this is where the different feasts and festivals that we have, he said, do this at this day, do this at that day, yada, yada. That's what all those things are relate to. So you have to understand about new moon in terms of keeping the actual Hebrew calendar or the Israelite calendar. Our calendar is not congruent with the Gregorian calendar. Of course, I know what January through December is, but our typical calendar, our first month typically is in March due to the spring angle, and the first month or the first new moon, of the new spring. And that's why we typically end up on a particular day, usually mid-March, not the exact date every year because of the cycle of the moon and the day that throws it off. So there is no exact date when it comes to the feast of the Most High in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. But what it does do is consistent with from the beginning of the month. Whenever there is a new moon, we are given instructions to label that particular month a particular month and to do a particular thing that he says in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter of a particular month, whether it's the first month, the fifth month, the seventh month, the third month, that way. And that's what I'm meaning. So when you learn that, start to try and learn that. And when you do learn that, you will be able to eventually get it figured out. You'll be able to question some of the brothers who have more experience, who've been doing it longer and have gone through a lot of those Q&A, the questions and answers that you may have or need answers to. So that's how your approach should be, okay? So I wanted to do that. So we read the Shema, and what I wanted to do was go to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter in particular, so that I can read the actual wording of of the feasts and festivals. And we should be down to verse 27. And I'm going to read that. I want you all to go back and read Leviticus, and that way you'll be able to have a particular question. But as a matter of fact, I want to go to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter and the 23rd verse. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, not the world. He says, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the 7th month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation. That is the festival of Sabbath day, the blowing of the trumpets to mark, hey, we're about to go into Tabernacle. We're about to do something special. So all Israelites who hear this horn say, oh yeah, we're getting ready to do this. Let's get prepared and yeah. It was symbolic at that point in time when it was given to the Israelites during that day. So my point is that that's why that starts. But notice he said in the 7th month. So in the 7th month, that month is now, that would have been like the first new moon in the middle of the month, the Gregorian month of September. So when that played out. So when that thing hits, when you see a new moon is coming in anytime before the sunset of a particular day, that day marks the new moon or the beginning of a particular month. And we start with the new moon for my people who are at a beginning level. It's pretty much the black moon, the month without the most shine. The full moon is the month, part of the month or the moon when it's at its full brightness. And then it deducts and decreases again and goes back down to closest to the what the new moon was. So the new moon starts dark. That's the beginning of our day, beginning of our month, because in Genesis, when the Most High made the world, it was dark first. Then he brought about light. So that's why it says in the evening and the morning were the first day. It's telling you the evening for the Most High in the Israelite calendar starts the day. So it's night. Even though we say Friday night, it's really Saturday morning in the Most High's eye. It's Saturday at that point, because you can't do any more work. So the sun ended the workday for my people during that time. There were no street lights like we have and all this light that we can move around at night that way, especially farming and doing different things to where you needed to have full vision or full lightness. So keep that in mind. We'll dig into that a little more, and you can ask specific questions upon you seeing the video if you need. And once I get notice of it, I'll lead you down the best path as possible. But with that being the case, let's go back to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and let's pick up again at the 24th verse, Speaking unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, which is what we're in now, in the first day of the month, which was a few days back, which was actually 23 days ago, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of the trumpets. I explained to you what blowing of the trumpets and holy convocation. Holy convocation means, if possible, that's when all the Israels that are in that particular community gather. It's the equivalent of you going to the church to get whatever it is you getting out of that, because they're not talking about the Bible. but that's the equivalent of going to church where we all gather under the covenant rules and laws. We are following that. So that's the goal. If you can, do it. You can't, try to reach out via phone if that's your only option. You can reach out via the way that we're talking now. I know everybody's watching football now, but that's on them. I wanted something else on my record. So I'm going to do the best that I can and let the Most High have his way with his judgment of how I move about. So let's go verse 25. Because it is the Sabbath, ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And I'm going to deal with the fire on the Sabbath because there are some that push out no fire, all of that. But we'll talk about that on another lesson. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, also on the 10th day of the 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. So that means that when he says afflict your soul, that means to fast from sun up or from sundown to sundown, a whole day. That's what afflicting your soul, and that's the Day of Atonement. That's the most reckoning day of the Most High saying, I will hear your concerns, your prayers, if you're walking as hard as you can into this, and to show me that you're dead serious about whatever it is that you begging me for and you asking me for, or that you need, or that, the illness, whatever the case may be, sacrifice you eating something and bringing pleasure to your belly and allow your body to yearn for that, but you're putting that to the side so that you can focus on what I want you to do and what I'm telling you to do. That's kind of where that plays into, and I'm paraphrasing it down for my people so that they'll get a picture of why he wanted you to do that. The Day of Atonement, a moment where we are at one. That's where we're at one with the Most High. The Most High is at one with us, but he wants to know nothing is coming into our body at this particular point that can conflict or interfere with the transmitting waves between him and us. That's the whole design, to make sure that nothing gets in the way of whatever it is you're trying to communicate with him and what he's going to send back your way. Okay, keep that in mind. So let's go potentially unto the 28th verse. Let's go here. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, that shall not fast in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. So if you're not fasting, get away from us, and the Most High is going to deal with you accordingly. But don't be around people who are fasting if you're not. You be cut off. You're going to be pushed away. You don't treat that day as such. You don't get to be around those that get blessings. And you take a chance on dealing with the Most High repentance to that. It has happened. It can happen. But my point is, you work on having your spirit in the proper context so that you can deal with whatever. Don't plan in advance anything to break the Most High's law. That's the difference. Things happen, and you can do good on the Sabbath. If your car flipped over that morning and your wife or something weird happened, man, go to the hospital and deal with that. You still deal with your atonement, do everything that you can under the Most High, but make sure that nothing was planned purposely to put in front of what the Most High is calling, like watching the game today during this particular time, this particular Sabbath. Different things now. I'm telling you, that's what changes us. And that's what, when people see the Israelites who are following that, that's why it looks like they are different. We are different. That particular group of people is different because they don't do that, even though the rest of the world does this. So all of those things are what make you a holy people. The word holy just means set apart or different or distinctive or not inclusive of whatever the other option is. They are by themselves, to themselves, and different, okay? Just keep that in mind. It doesn't mean being a preacher, because a lot of people, he holy. That doesn't mean that. It means to be separate, a separate people, a holy people, all right? So let's go to verse 30. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work, you're purposely working, trying to get that bag, and say, man, let me go get my money, man. I need to do what I got to do. That's not making a choice. If you're doing that and you didn't prepare because you had 8 months, hey, man, I need to be off around so-and-so a month before, you need to do everything that you can that's in your control to make sure that you prepare it as best as possible to follow the Most High's law, statutes, and commandment. But let me reread that. Verse 30. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. He's saying he's going to destroy you. He's going to get you away from his people if you do that servile work. All right? Keep that in mind. Verse 31. Ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. So if he said it was forever, how can you not be up under the law? Okay, well, God made a mistake. That's what you say. I don't say that. Go read Psalms 89. Read the whole psalm and see what he says about what comes out of his mouth. And these words are coming out of his mouth, being written by Joshua, but being given through Moses. So Joshua is watching Moses get his instructions and hearing what he has to say, but he's writing it down to make sure everything is copied in the best format that they could prepare it for while they were up 40 days in the wilderness. So let's go verse 32. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, a day where you're not doing the other worldly stuff. Take a break from that. 6 days shall thou work, but on the Sabbath, make sure that you don't purposely plan out to go get no bag on days that the Most High say are my Sabbath. Verse 32 again. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. He's telling you, don't do no servile work and fast. This is the day of atonement. This is the 10th day of the 7th month. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even until even, ye shall celebrate your Sabbath. So that's the night of the 9th day, the sunset of that night, going into the next night. So that's how you end up getting a full 24-hour day, right? Not the night of the Sabbath, the night leading before on going into the 10th day, all right? And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of this month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. What that is saying now, you got the instructions for noticing the new month, which is the new moon, the 7th new moon of the year, Tishri, that particular month. That's where these instructions are designed for you to do it at that point. Day 10 of the particular month, 10 days after the new moon, that was the Day of Atonement. You fasting that whole day, not doing any work, avoiding it. If you're just in a particular fix, and I'm not going to sit here and talk stupid. Some people get stuck in a fix. Your job is to continue after you get your information. Get out of that job or get off of the situation where you can't take out the, you keep working on getting out of that job and feed your family as much as possible. But at the same time, sacrifice given your circumstance to get out of the situation where you can't do it and still have a job, if all be possible. But reach out to the brothers and so you can get all the different angles to make sure that you understand how to approach this. So let's continue with that particular point. So on the first day of the Holy Convocation, you shall do no servile work. All right. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. So what the Most High is pointing out that you're not supposed to do any servile work, and you treat the Holy Convocation like you treat going to church. You put on your best this, your best that, and eventually you'll get the understanding of the French trim garments in the book of Numbers 15:38, and you'll understand the ribbon of blue with in the borders of the garment with fringes on whatever, how you jazz it up. You'll know how to do it. Just get into it first, and you'll figure out once you read it and you start Googling fringes with borders of blue on the borders of the garment. And you can do a lot of different ways to get a picture in your mind so that you can ask questions a particular way. All right. But that's what it means, dressing, coming that way, clean. And I'm around you as clean as I can be today in my garb. All right. But with that being said, the offering made by fire, pretty much you get a listing of offerings. And I want you to hit me back and I'll give you the actual listing of the offering meats. And in essence, you could have eaten it, but the offering by fire is for the smoke to show that this was good meat. I could have, this was good food, but I'm gonna leave it on the fire until it is burned to a crisp and it has the smoke and the savor has gone to you to let you know that that was for you. That was an offering to you. So the Most High is saying, you know, I appreciate that offering. I'm taking it, but this is how I'm taking it. You put it into the atmosphere and let the smoke burn. That is different than to cook and to eat. So you can't fast and eat in the same day. That's how you got to understand how to read scripture to understand. He's saying, why would he tell us to make a fire or make an offering by fire on the same day we're doing an atonement? Because the offering is for the Most High. It's not for you. So you're around meat. You're around that particular type of meat he told you to do, but you're not eating it. That is an offering because we know how tough it is to be cooking food and you ain't touching it. You ain't doing this. You're putting yourself beneath what the Most High wants you to do. All these different angles are angles that actually prepare us and make us more just still iron sharpening iron. It makes us better at learning how to submit to the Most High, like our wives are supposed to submit to their husband. There's an order of doing it, a very distinct and classical way of doing that to actually bring forth your best to be the best servant or the best submissive that you can. That's what makes the Most High happy when we do it the way he tells us to do it, and his rules are not grievous unto us, like we're sucking our teeth. So that's what he gonna do when we ask him to do something for us, suck his teeth and tell you not. But with that being said, I wanted to go to verse 37 so you'll understand what's in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, right? Verse 37 says, "These are the feast," with an S, "of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering and a meat offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything upon his day. Besides the Sabbaths of the Lord's, and besides your gifts, and besides all your vows, and besides all your free will offerings, which ye give unto the Lord." Those things that I just read are in addition to what he proclaimed for us to do at that particular point for the Feast of Tabernacles, okay? "Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath," which is today. Today is a Sabbath. Yesterday, Saturday, every Saturday is a Sabbath. But sometimes because we're doing 10 or 15th day of the month, this, that, and the other, sometimes those days fall on a Saturday, which is our Sabbath day anyway. And if it is, the rules of that particular day are what you do on that Sabbath, other than the standard accepted rules of every Saturday as the Sabbath, what we do on those particular days. But I want you to keep that in mind, that it can fluctuate from year to year. It'll move around day to day, different feasts and festivals that we have. So Verse 40, and ye shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook, and ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God for 7 days. That's what you're going to be burning the fire with, right? And ye shall keep it a feast unto the Lord 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month. Forever word again, the Most High don't make mistakes. He makes corrections, but he don't make mistakes. He said forever for that people, that means forever. The children of Israel are his chosen. Verse 42, ye shall dwell in booths, booths, 7 days, and all that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths. That's in your Bible. Leviticus 23:42. You need to find out if you're an Israelite. And if you're not, you still need to learn the law, statutes, and commandments, because that is what the kingdom of heaven will be ruled by. A new government, new set of rules, new rulers. All right. Verse 43, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. And Moses declared unto the children of Israel the feast of the Lord. And it reads like that. That's the last verse of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. It reads like that because the rest of the chapter, because we're not on those particular feasts, but you go back and read them more than one time and keep going through them and just keep feeding your soul with it. And eventually all questions and clearance will be made, right? But the point I wanted to make was that he made the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. You got 40 days to walk 288 miles in particular. That's the land distance between. Now, the path, that can be discussed, but the point of it is, according to the scripture that we believe what the Most High said, make man a liar. It don't matter what he can or can't prove. We know somebody made us, so I'm going to trust that. If whatever you believe in cannot prove or show me how the first man on earth was made or who taking claim for it other than the God of this Bible, ain't nothing for us to talk about. I don't care what you thought got copied or scrapped. Those people aren't able to follow it. They ain't getting touched like the Most High said we would be touched or the Israelites would. But my point of it is, booths are tents, like an Indian tent or army tent, a tent that you can buy from Walmart if you're in the position to set up in your yard. They have different sizes. You can buy air mattresses. You can do the accessories with it. But the point of it is, whenever you're given the opportunity, put the tent either in your backyard. If you got a group of Israelites that you have been able to congregate with, if y'all decide to meet over a particular place, some may have land, and whatever the case may be, hopefully I'll be able to get 40 acres here soon. I'm hoping that comes through for me. But if the Most High wants it, and I'm going to definitely have it to where it'll be cleared and open up in the future for that particular purpose, where, we can accommodate hundreds or thousands of our brothers and meet in one particular spot. That I'm going to ask the Most High to keep that in the front of the to-do list, but it is being worked on, all right? But my point is, let's go with him explaining. That's why we do the Feast of Tabernacles. That's the point of the booth, because they had to do it coming out of Israel. So again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you read the 23rd chapter of Leviticus. Now, before we go, I want to leave you with some scriptures to show proof that the children of Israel were actually chosen by the Most High, and they were called by his name. And I'm going to show you what that means to be called by his name, okay? Now pay attention before we close out here. Shabbat Shalom. Guess who is called by the name given by God? The kingdom of heaven is for the 12 tribes of Israel. We're going to start with 2 Chronicles, the 7th chapter, the 14th verse. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal with an L their land. Now, I wanted to go back to the top of that particular verse. If my people, which are called by my name. A lot of time, I grew up Baptist church, and I get it. They want to just say, you just had to say Jesus, or if you were just a good person, or whatever the case may have been. If they call by my name, that means you're one of God's chosen. It does not mean that particularly. That the chosen that he's talking about, and we're going to get to the scriptures that's going to basically clear that up. The choices that the name, that he was talking about was the name that he gave. That's why he said, if my people who are called by my name, he's saying the name that I gave them, not by God or Yahshua, because God is a title. It's not a name. That is his title. All capital God means I'm above all. That I am, that I am. So Yahshua and Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, God and Christ, his son. That's why the Shai is added on, son of. All right. So my point is that he had a particular name that he's talking about. And that's where we're going to go to next. Let's go to the book of Genesis, the 35th verse. And we're going to go to the 9th chapter. And God appeared unto Jacob again when he came out of Padanaram and blessed him. Verse 10. And God said unto him, thy name is Jacob. Thy name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be thy name. And he called his name Israel. That is the name that God is talking about in 2 Chronicles 7 and 14. My people that are called by my name. He's saying I gave him that name. All right. So let's go verse 11. And God said unto him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. David came out. Solomon came out. Some of the other rulers that you get when you continue to read. He was telling them beforehand. This is before the 12 tribes of Israel were actually completed and formed. This is in Genesis, before Exodus. So I wanted to point that out. And matter of fact, let me finish and read the last verse 12 of that particular precept. And the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac, to thee I will give it, and to thy seed after thee will I give the land. So there is a particular holy land that we inherited from Abraham, through Abraham, Isaac, and then Jacob and to his children, that we eventually lost, which is why a lot of us ended up in North, South, and Central America. But we'll deal with that lesson. Go to the Tents of Judah page and peep out a couple of the lessons that I already have on there to talk in particular and specific about the events that got us off of the Holy Land eventually in 70 AD, after Christ had reset the covenant, and we still didn't get right. But the Most High got us off of the land, and things that led to the children being scattered about after that point. So I wanted to point that out to you. But the bottom line was to know that in Genesis, the 35th chapter, verses 9 through 12, you can find the actual name. And this is where the term for Israelites come into play. That's why they're his chosen, because he named the seed. Yeah, we messed up, but we didn't lose out. But that is why that particular verse ties to that. Don't let your preacher just throw it out, say anybody can. No, sir. He's dealing with a particular tribe, and we're going to get with even more of that. The whole Bible is about the children of Israel. You don't believe me? Count the word Israel, or the children of Israel, the tribes of Israel. You're going to be around 3,000, pushing it, at least 2,500. That's how many times that's listed. But your preachers doesn't seem to bring it up. And it's also mentioned in the very next to the last chapter of the Holy Bible. And we'll get to that. I'm going to just keep with my notes because we're going to eventually get to that. So let's go next to confirm that the children that the Most High is talking about are the Israelites. Let's go to Joel, the 2nd chapter, the 27th verse. And it reads, "And ye shall know that I am in the midst, I am amongst the Israel of Israel. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed." I don't know what more clear you need to get, but God's saying, yeah, I'm God. I made all of this, but I picked you out of all the people that are on earth, and I'm your God, which means I'm only blessing you. I'm giving you the fruits and the ooh-wee and the good of this land if you keep my covenant and walk how I tell you to walk. But if you do what you do, I'm going to pull my hands off of you, and I'm going to put you in the hand of your enemy. And I'm going to let the enemy have his way with you for a while till you learn your lesson. Keep that in mind. That's book of Joel, the 2nd chapter, the 27th verse. Let's go next to another precept. Let's go to Psalms 147. And we'll start at 15 through 20. And I want you to pay attention while I read this. "He sendeth forth his commandment upon earth. His word runneth very swiftly." Hear that. He sent his commandment to earth. Earth is the physical planet, not world. World is groups that are on the planet. Earth means I sent my commandment. I told everything down there that's made, I made it. And I also sent the word of how to behave down there. So he's saying he sent forth his commandment upon earth. His word runneth very swiftly. And I'm going to skip to 19. You can read 16 through 18 at your leisure, but it doesn't get right to the point. But 19, "He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel." What this means is, remember, I just showed you that Jacob's name was changed to Israel. He's saying, I only gave those commandments that I just read to you in 147 and 50, Psalms 147 and 15. I only gave them to Jacob. And eventually he said, my judgments, the things that come out of them. A judgment is what you get if you do good or what you get if you do bad. Basically, the punishment or the blessing. That's what he's saying. I give him my judgments and my statutes. That's what that means in conclusion. All right. So he's saying, I've only given that to Israel. Now we're in Psalms now. So let's go. The next verse reads as follows. "He hath not dealt so with any nation." Right there. Let me stop. God's saying, or Solomon is reading out here, David, that he has not dealt so with any nation. He's saying, I didn't give this to the world. I only gave it to the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or eventually Israel, and eventually 12 tribes of Israel, or eventually Israelites. That's what this is re-emphasizing and clarifying, okay? The entire Bible is in regards to Israelite business. They were never wiped away. Revelations 21 and 12. But this is what we're going to get. I'm going to read Psalms 147 and 20 one more time. "He hath not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. And as for the promise of blessings and the curses that can come off of it," he's saying, I didn't set up no covenant with the world. Again, that's what that particular scripture is saying. No need for you to pull it out. I've already read forever a couple of times, and you're going to have a whole bunch of conflict saying, but Jesus doing this now. And what you finna do is put Christ in this wrong place. So God is still over Christ, and Christ never said that, first of all. So all my preachers, if you're not preaching about Israelites, you're not reading from the Bible, man. You're going to get a hell of a punishment. You're going to get a problem, and I'm going to have a lesson on that about what y'all playing with, trying to ignore it so you can get people to come in and give you 10% to buy your damn Cadillac or your car. That's what you doing, man. You pimping on the Most High's name, and you gonna get what you cook. You gonna have to eat what you cook. Let me put it that way. All right. So that's what Psalms 147, 15 through 20 saying. Now let's go to the seal of that the entire Bible is for the Israelites. You can't get any newer testament than Revelation. If you ever touch the Bible, I know you agree because you have no choice. It's the last Bible in any version, script of the Bible, or a take of the Bible. But I will say this to my people: you make sure that you download the app if you can't order the actual Bible off of places like eBay or wherever, or you may have a bookstore. But here's what you have to say when you grab. Don't just grab it because it says King James Version. And forget all the talk for the people who don't understand who King James was. He did not write the Bible. He paid people to translate it out of an old language into a language, Latin and Greek, and eventually it came to English where we could actually read it. All right? For other reasons, because we got scattered. So the Most High was going to make sure wherever language we were scattered into, his word would be re-emphasized to the later generations in order for us to come back to him. Most High smarter than us. Now, plus he planned this. He did this to whoop us, to get us right because of what we did to him. But my point of it is this: King James did not write the Bible. He got the Dead Sea Scrolls. They got all this stuff. Not the Dead Sea Scrolls, excuse me, but they got all of the information that was left behind, and then they marked in year was 1611. And that's what you need to see on your King James Bible, King James 1611. Or you can go to your app store. They have free downloads of the app, or you can get the paid one, however you want to do it. But my point is, what you're going to find out is that there are extra 14 books that's in there called the Apocrypha. Those books talk about the Israelites going to Greece, where he says neither Greek nor Jew. He was talking about Israelites in Greece. So if you're not going to know that, if you don't have the full Bible that shows the scriptures where the prophets were writing and doing what they had to do at that particular juncture, that particular book called the Apocrypha, or those particular words or the scriptures called the Apocrypha, were actually written time-wise in between what would have been the end of the Old Testament and the beginning of the New Testament. That's the gap in there that has caused all this clutter and confusion. So if your preacher doesn't want to read it, you can stay in there and go where he go, or you can come out of there and go where the truth will take you. Psalms 19:7, the truth, the laws are the truth. Okay, so let's deal with that. Now, let me go ahead and read Revelations, the 21st chapter. And I'm going to start at the 11th verse, and I'm going to read down through 27. I'm going to skip a couple of verses to get to the point, but I'm going to start at Revelations 21 and 11. Having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. Revelations 21:12. And had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the 12 gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. What is being described in Revelation, the next to the last chapter of the book, he's telling you about the center point of the kingdom of heaven. Like Washington, D.C. is of the United States, and pretty much this is the most dominant kingdom to date since we fell in world history, right? But just like that is, this gate is going to mark the center of the Holy Land. When we gather and regather, the men of the 12 tribes will be seeing the Most High as well as Christ. When the final page is set on the final setup, the Most High will be sitting among us like he did in Exodus 24 with Moses and his brothers and 74 of the elders of the community at that time that sat, ate, and drank with God. He doesn't have to be here the most time. Christ will get his chance to be the top guy for 1,000 years once the woe falls and once everything is set up. He's going to get 1,000 years to get the earth re-prepared and reclaimed before the Most High comes back. But his reward for bringing us back under the covenant by giving up his life, is that he will be the ruler over this earth for 1,000 years and get the house completely in order. And then his dad, the Most High, will eventually come back. I'm condensing that, but at the point of time, we will talk about that in specific, how that weighs out and what was said throughout the Bible as well as Revelation. But let's go to verse 13. And on the east, 3 gates. On the north, 3 gates. On the south, 3 gates. And on the west, 3 gates. 4 times 3 is 12. He's telling you 12 different gates. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. Verse 27, though, I skipped a couple of verses to get to the point that's more descriptive between 14 and 26. But verse 27 says, and there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth, neither whatsoever worketh abomination, and maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. That is giving the final conclusion that Christ reset the covenant, same laws, Matthew 5, same laws, but a new mediator between us and the Most High. So if we do what Christ says, Christ is going to be the one. That's why it says written in the Lamb's book of life. If Christ don't put you down as doing what he told you to do after he gave you the information and you bucked it, your name is not going to be written into at this point to get what's on the other side. So be clear on that. There is a distinct difference between the Most High God and Christ. When he says the Lamb, he's talking about Christ. He called him Lamb because he sacrificed his body to die as the husband so that we could remarry him and come back under the covenant. Go check out my lesson to understand what that means about Christ being the new husband. God was the old, and how that ties into why Christ had to die. And leave any questions that you have. But that's enough. I wanted to show you that the children of Israel were chosen by God, why he chose them, why he named them, what he named them, and what's going to happen at the actual end. And that he's telling you that he never dealt with a particular nation. For your mind to get off of everybody, worry about yourself. Find out if you're an Israelite, and if you potentially are or can be, you need to get up under the law, statutes, and commandments as best as possible, as hastily as possible. And let's get this whole community together, because we have hundreds of millions of brothers out there who have not heard this, or people. And we have to get a unit together, and we continue to move, and like some of the camps are bravely and graciously doing. But there's more work to be done. So let's get this cleared up so we can know how to tell them and what to tell them, who it is, so that once they change and we get the 144,000 sealed, that's 12,000 men from each of the individual 12 tribes that I just talked about in Revelation 21. So we have to get it to where 12,000 men are clear. The foundation is there to where they can run their particular portion around the globe, because you're going to have to put into your mind, even though that's going to be our holy land, the entire world or the entire earth is going to be under subjection of the children of Israel in the end time, when everything is finally set up and everybody will have their portion or their inheritance on this earth, their particular part. And when we meet back at that gate that I just told you about, high where the Most High is, then that's when we all come back on those particular days, Sabbath days, or whatever is required, and we get to sit with our Creator, the one that put us in that position. And then when it's over for that particular time, we go back and we still continue to rule and govern our particular lands around the earth, and the earth will be at complete peace. There will be no chance of a war, because all of the nations of the earth will be Israelite ruled. Okay, there's no way there's gonna be any turmoil, because there's nothing else to get or to take. Wars are caused by greed. Okay, so at the end of the day, I wanted to leave that with you, and I appreciate any and all that have listened. I know some of you won't get in until now. You're watching your game, but get into this. Leave me some questions, and we'll get to the next level. All right. So with that being said, I wanted to say Shabbat Shalom, and do go and subscribe to Tents Tents of Judah, Judah. And go to YouTube and let's get it going and get some questions out there and get some answers out there as well. So until that time, Shabbat Shalom, fam, and be at ease.